So, hello guys, you've been asking a couple of times already for a showcase and a little explanation about why I choose to go the way I did. And the the main issue I encountered that a lot of people told me was they're not dealing enough damage with the energy shield version and they don't feel tanky at all with the energy shield version. And I will give you a quick fix and a little bit guidance on why this might happen and why you would feel that there is not enough damage or why you don't feel tanky enough with energy shield, right? So first of all, if you're going the energy shield version, you have to understand that the main purpose on the energy shield version is that you're not getting stunned, right? So currently I don't have any energy shield, I don't have any stun threshold, so if monsters might attack me, I had to preemptively dodge, do some back rolls or just kill the monsters instantly. What if they survive? That's kind of a bad story, right? So currently I can just sustain a lot of damage with the mana flask. It allows me to use it 7 times and fully heal my mana pool. That's around 70,000 mana, and additionally probably it would take the monsters 5 to 10 seconds to deal this damage, which means 10 seconds is another 43,000 mana over the 10 seconds, so that's around 125,000, let's say 100,000 to be a little bit more whatever, 100,000 mana, and it's kinda a lot of damage I can tank until I'm dying, except for one shots. If you're playing alone, you can just go escape, right? It's one of the methods you can use. Why is going full mana better than going like a hybrid version with energy shield and full mana is I will show you just right now at the boss. Because obviously if you have a lot of energy shield, like 5, 6, 7,000, and you have 5, 6,000 mana, you will be thinking, yeah, I can just tank this guy also, but for example, you can tank obviously this, but can you reg? Can you reg your defense like this, right? Probably not, because energy shield has this cooldown to sustain, right? And it will be very difficult to tank a lot of hits in quick succession. For example, those hands, right? It doesn't really matter if it hits me. Don't know why this didn't hit me. But overall, Xesht cannot kill me anymore. It's on level 82, it's the highest difficulty, right? And actually, this guy is super, how do you call, desperate to kill me. He has no chance at all, right? So, let's open up the skill tree. And if I go here and I put, what is it called, stun threshold, right? You get 1 point here, a couple of points there, a little bit of over here, a little bit here, and then you combine it with critical ratings right here. Maybe you go there, you take this one here for extra energy shield, you take some other nodes for extra energy shield, and all of a sudden you find yourself half of your tree with energy shield's thresholds, and critical strike damage. Critical strike damage is pretty good in PoE 1. In PoE 2, I think you have to use a lot of resources to get it to a viable level, because the itemization is pretty shit in PoE 1 when it's going for critical hit damage, critical strike chance, and so on. Right? You don't really have the gems for it. You are stuck to use gems like super critical, which is good and not good, and other stuff like invertible critical strike, which is kind of trash, right? So what's the problem here? You don't have a lot of critical strike chance, you don't have a lot of crit damage modifiers, at least you don't have a lot of space for it, right? For example, this weapon here, it's kind of misrolled, it has a lot of critical hit chance, sucks, right? You don't want to have it, actually. Helmet could have critical strike chance, critical multiplier I think too, gloves the same, right? But where do you fit all of these sets? There's so much better sets for it, right? So I really don't like the idea of going critical strike, and if you just count, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 points that you use for nothing. And same goes for energy shield, right? What's the point on having like 6,000 energy shield and 6,000 mana when you can just like have 10,000 mana, right? Like no difference at all. So there are certain next amulets, for example, this one here. People use it a lot, everlasting, whatever. I don't really like it, right? I mean, obviously, 2600 energy shield feels great, right? But I think I cannot use my Archmage now. Let's fix it really quickly. So, I lose like, what do I lose? I lose 150,000 damage, right? I think I lose another projectile. I lose not a lot of mana actually. I lose like 1,000 mana, which is kind of weird since this snack has a lot of mana percentage and flat amount. It has a lot of regeneration too, so check it. Yeah, 400 mana regeneration, which is kind of good, right? But does it really? Is it like this damage is enough for clearing all the content, right? But do you really want to use like if I spec out of a lot of damage options here and get them into the energy shield and energy shield stun threshold, I might lose another 100,000 damage, right? And I don't know if it's really worth it because yeah, there is no energy shield leech, there is no energy shield overleech, you're not taking ghost shrouds anywhere. You don't really have a lot of sustain for your energy shield, so it's like you take damage and then you try to dodge, not take damage again, right? Try to focus a little bit for a second or two until your energy shield recharges again. So actually that kind of sucks, right? Why just not upgrade your mana pool and then just regenerate your mana pool more quickly than instead of your energy shield, right? Because in the end you will have to be, if the hits are deadly enough that you kinda have to dodge around, you can dodge around without energy shield and stun threshold. That was like the whole idea behind it. Another quick thing, a lot of people ask me like, oh, I'm playing cast on shock, I have spirit on my chest. Forget about this, right? It's super baity. If your gear is not GG, you won't have any difference in just skipping cast on shock and increasing your spark damage, right? And then just do your damage with spark and arc maybe, or orb of storms and spamming lightning spells. There is like no, not a real. The thing when you want to go cast on shock is if you can instant face bosses, right? And kinda overwhelm them with a lot of damage, not being tanky enough, just like pump pure DPS, and then just insta kill bosses that have like there's just a boss there, right? Like Audience of the King, maybe Expedition boss, Breach boss, kinda okay too because there's not a lot of monsters. Or obviously the Arbiter, right? If you can just face him, the fight will be much easier, so that's the whole point in it. For Breach and mapping and farming XP, I certainly think that Cast on Shock is kinda trash and bait, right? You lose out on like 500 energy shield. If you want to have a GG chest with spirit and a lot of energy shield, that will be super expensive. You kinda have to use a scuffed amulet because those are super expensive too. And in the end, it's not really worth it, right? For the damage gain, the single target damage gain is like super whatever. And actually, if you pump your damage up to 200k, you will be insta killing any boss, any map boss, any monster, breach monster on any map mod anyway, right? So it's kind of overkill. It makes, of course, certain bosses and monsters will be quicker, but actually it's not a big deal there, right? So a lot of people ask me, hey, my build sucks, I have energy shield, I have whatever, I have Spirit, but I kinda cannot clear breaches on T11, T14 maps, which kinda sucks, right? So what can I do? What can you do is like one method of like getting a lot of tank gear and doing a lot of damage with crap gear is Call of the Brotherhood. Those people mostly won't have an Ingenuity, they won't have a Dream Fragment, but they will have a Call of the Brotherhood. So let's make it quick. Let's just take off this one, we don't need it. So you have Archmage here, and we have Spark here, right? So once we turn off Archmage, sorry, our Spark deals like lousy damage. It's like 5,000. If we take off the ring, it's a little bit more, 7,657, because of all the whatever. What is it called? All the lightning damage increases, whatever I have. And yeah, so and the extra lightning as whatever, right? The damage conversions, you deal a little bit like a 1/3 less damage with Call of the Brotherhood, but once you activate Archmage, you will be dealing a lot of lightning damage too to it with it. So you will deal like, I don't know, 1/10 of your damage will be cold damage, and then 9/10 will be like Archmage damage. With this kind of gear, 6,830 mana is kinda okayish gear. Spark maybe level 29 is kinda high. So maybe we just remove the neck here. So this is something very realistically here, right? So that's something very realistically here. 100,000 damage, we do like 3,300 cold damage, 2,800 lightning damage. That's something realistically. So you just put on this ring here, you swap out the other Unicre trash belts people are using with the recoup, which is crap by the way, because an 8-second recoup won't make you tanky and it won't make you deal more damage, so it's kinda bait, right? It's trash. Get a rare belt with 170 mana, double triple resistance, fix your resistances here. The Unicre gloves that do like whatever they do is also trash, right? You want energy shield and mana, resistances, because you will be shocking enemies anyway with your spark, so what's the point, right? And especially with Call of the Brotherhood, you will be freezing enemies instantly too, which is a very strong defense mechanism. So once you get Call of the Brotherhood and you feel like, oh, I need to fix my build, you just go here and take those 3 nodes here. One is freeze build-up, super nice, and frozen enemies don't have elemental resistances, which kinda translates to you don't need any pen on your tree. You need this node kinda because it's a lot of damage. That's fine, but you don't need any pen. You don't need any lightning pen. You don't need any cold pen. So you just kill everything that's frozen instantly, right? The other node is here again, freeze build up, and then increase damage with hits against frozen enemies, which is kinda fucking crazy, considering you will be killing a lot of things with arc. I will tell you soon enough why. So kinda tree would be like you skip out of like obviously ignore the tree of mine, right? But you just remove all your energy shield nodes, all your crit nodes that are useless, and then you just pump those 3 points in, and you go down the spiral here, you go down here, go down here, and if you manage to get those 3 nodes somehow, 1, 2, 3, and this 1/4, and then 5, 6, 7, 8, you get another jewel slot. Those are super strong nodes here. If you don't have the GG mana flask, you can spec into 1, 2. Those points are kinda useless, but this one is kinda great. It makes your mana recovery rate going up during any flask effect, mana flask effect, which is kinda like this one, a little bit weaker, right? And it's obviously stuck to the activation of a mana flask, which is okayish, right? Not the end of the world. And then that's it, kinda, right? Mm, with these kind of shenanigans, obviously you only want those if you can kill enemies without them making frozen. Because when they're frozen, you don't need pen anyway. But before they're frozen, you might be able to one-shot them with just damage and overwhelm them like this. So those nodes are kind of good. Second thing, why this area is really good, because if your damage is not great, those nodes here won't help you. They will deplete your mana really quickly. You won't have a lot of how should I say, you want to scale your damage with controlled destruction instead of critical strike chances, and nothing of there is like of greater value for you right now. So you want to get what's it called? Obviously, this against the darkness is GG. You can get the worst one with maybe other useful stats, and you can for a divine or two, and you just slot it here. So you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 big nodes, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 small nodes, which is kind of cool, right? For 2 divine upgrade, and obviously nodes that you want to have, it's super good, right? So that a little thing there, a little side note, and yeah, that's about it. So if you ask, why Arc? Why is he using Arc? Why I'm using Arc is because Arc does for every remaining chain you have, Arc deals more damage, right? So imagine shooting in the breach, you're going around, you're shooting, everything is frozen, dying, and then there is a rare monster that survives, it's frozen, and you just boom, shoot it with Arc, it's instantly dead, right? Doesn't matter how tanky it is, how strong you are actually, most of the time it's just a one shot because of this node here and this one here, right? So they don't have elemental resistances. They take increased damage when they're frozen, and your arc deals more damage for each remaining chain. And you just take elemental focus because obviously your spark attacks will be shocking and freezing and chilling, so there's no point in applying elemental elements with your arc. You will take unleash because yeah, why not just shoot 2 of them, right? Super weak damage increase. You can see the number here. You just shoot it. It will charge itself up again over time. You take super critical because it just means your critical strike bonus will be, like your critical strike damage will be increased by 100% if you take this one, but your critical strike chance will be less, which doesn't really matter when we take inevitable critical, which is like it will just stack up your critical strike chance, right? Is it really needed? No, it's not. But it's really good, like when you don't have a lot of gear and you just walk around and then you get the 100% crit chance, 1, 2, 300 multiplier arc on an enemy that's single target, right? It will just obliterate any enemy, any threat there. Obviously you can, instead of inevitable critical, you can take like things, for example, Rising Tempest is okay if you like press Flame Wall, this spark and so on, all of a sudden you find yourself doing like 48% more damage, which is kinda great, not good, but great. And obviously, where is it? Considered casting is another good thing to slot in there because yeah, it doesn't really matter if you cast arc less quickly, right? You just want to have a lot of instant hit damage, and you can get it with considered casting, right? So quick thing, why do I have considered casting and using arcane tempo? Because once you have really strong gear, you will encounter a issue where, I mean, I don't have it right now because my cast speed is a little bit off, but once you reach 7 casts per second, can I get it somewhere? Do I have something that will increase my cast speed? Let's check this one here. Yeah. So, as you see, 7.3 seconds. My spark costs 600 mana. 7 times 6 is what? Just look at my mana, how it's depleting, right? It will be depleting super quickly. I don't know. It shouldn't deplete that quickly because my mana regeneration is quite high, right? And it's no way near enough to deplete it that quickly, right? Because I think it's related to the server tick rate. So currently I'm not allowed to go over 7 seconds of cast time, so I have considered casting because currently I'm playing with a color together and he has like cast speed, damage aura and so on. So he will boost up my cast speed on levels where I just drain myself in quick succession. and it will like make me die, right? So that's actually about it. If you have other questions, you can just ask them in the comment section or on the original Reddit post. I will try to answer all of them. That's it. I might do a second video on a little bit more in-depth explanation if it's needed, if people want it. Sure, why not? If it's enough for them to understand like the core part of the whole stuff, it's okay for me. I don't mind either way. Alright, see you, bye bye, good luck guys.